Dark academia is the newest fad or perhaps movement on the literary scene, or maybe not even the literary scene as much as the literarian scene. I do not think that it is very well represented in literature yet, because I think that the literature movement of the dark academe, well, it's all in the past. And perhaps no poet better embodies dark academia than Emily Dickinson. Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we are here to talk about a poem which will appear in two poetry playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, now cruising towards 800 videos strong, and number two being the Emily Dickinson playlist, cruising towards 250 Emily Dickinson videos strong, the greatest poet of all time. You can make other arguments, but you would be wrong. The poem in question today is "The Soul Selects Her Own Society," and it reads as such. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door to her divine majority, present no more. Unmoved, she notes the chariots pausing at her low gate. Unmoved, an emperor be kneeling upon her mat. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one, then close the valves of her attention like a stone. This is the story of the soul belonging to her. Whoever her is, whoever the soul is. This is her soul selecting its own society, even when presented with an emperor upon her mat. So you are left to imagine that an emperor is there to present himself or his son to the owner of the soul, but the soul selects her own society. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one. She has many from whom she could choose, but she does choose one and then close the valves of her attention, then cuts off everyone else from what it is that she is paying attention to, like a stone. So, what is dark academia? Well, I grabbed a nifty little definition from, possibly ironically, but possibly right in line with what you would expect, ChatGPT 5. Dark academia is an aesthetic and subculture that idealizes the pursuit of knowledge, particularly in the arts, humanities, and classical studies, through imagery and narratives steeped in nostalgia, secrecy, and mortality, often set against the backdrop of libraries, universities, or historic architecture, and infused with themes of isolation, elitism, and the transience of beauty and life. So, this is sort of where we will spend most of this poem. Themes of isolation, elitism, and the transience of beauty and life. Isolation, I think, is just sort of obvious right there in that opening line. The soul selects her own society and then shuts the door. But that alone would not suggest isolation, would not necessarily suggest the company of few. You have to read it in tandem with that. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one. The soul selects her own society, then shuts the door, choosing one. This is a dark academia ideal. Elitism. Well, how much more elite does it get than to say that our speaker is, there we go, unmoved at an emperor kneeling before her? She doesn't have time for this. This emperor fellow, what is this? Go away. I don't have time for emperors. The transience of beauty and life. I would argue that while transience of beauty and life is not directly invoked in this poem, beauty certainly is. The soul selects her own society, and there are emperors showing up at her gate. That emperor is there to marry or to get married the speaker, or the subject, I suppose I should say. That is a sign of beauty. Now, perhaps not physical beauty, though probably, right? To be fawned over by emperors, one would imagine that physical beauty is manifest. But Cleopatra was fawned over by leaders, foreign and domestic, and the rumor now on her is that it wasn't really her looks. Maybe this has always been the rumor, and I was just subject to the popular culture understanding of Cleopatra. But what they're saying is that it was really the fact that these emperors, these powerful men, were interested in her wit, in her challenging them, and all of these things, her intelligence, rather than just, oh, isn't she pretty? Um, I don't know why I was going on about that, but the transience of beauty and life. Now, I think that it is difficult to point out in this poem an aspect of transience of life. Beauty is always transient. That is the thing about beauty. But especially when we're talking about a poet who invokes the religious as often as does Emily Dickinson, though I think she had her struggles with the ideas of religion, seems to have been someone that accepted the post mortal as a reality. We have here that final stanza. I've known her from an ample nation. Choose one, then close the valves of her attention like a stone. I think that if you were really trying, you could read that as an indication of the transience of life. That sometimes there is a final decision to be made. Here, it is the company of our subject. She chooses just one and then closes the valves of her attention like a stone. The speaker here does not say that they will later be reopened. There's no will be back sign. It is just a decision here. Now, why speak about the soul selects her own society in correlation with dark academia? The dark academia ideals of isolation are, in my opinion, something that is about transformation. The dark academic, I think, the ideal behind the dark academic is that the phase of being the academic is to get to a greater state of consciousness, a greater state of awareness, a greater state of usefulness, a greater state of intelligence. I think that is sort of a Bildungsroman, right? I think that the aesthetic of the dark academic is the aesthetic of someone who is changing, but changing into what? If there is anything presented in this poem, perhaps it is the fully formed dark academic. The power to choose her own society. And it's not the individual, it's her soul doing this, something which is sort of usually counted on to be the wise portion of us, our soul, our wisdom, our wholeness, fullness, not the shell of our mortal form. It's the soul. The Soul Selects Her Own Society is a poem in which the soul has the ability to select that society, meaning it is realized in the subject of our poem. The soul selects her own society. She has the power to do so. Could you go to work tomorrow and tell your boss to bug off? No. The soul that selects her own society can. She has reached that level of power inside her own world. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. There's poetry every Monday, and as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.